Hey Scuba fans, Makata makers and Arduino artisans. So, as I said in my last video, I'm at a loose end for the next month, and in the next month I'll be going on holiday, diving in Gozo with my good buddy Kurt. I'm also going to go on a nice river trip with my mum and dad and my wife Essen. It's on the Thames. You hire a nice boat and then you just sleep aboard that for a whole week. Pucker. So I thought, well, seeing as I enjoy doing those videos so much and I'm at a loose end, I thought I'd show you some of the real scuba dive tech that I've got, which is what I would say any scuba diver, if they're able to invest in these things over time, you'll have to save up, but I guarantee you it will increase the quality of your experience. And you know, I'm not someone to buy tech for the sake of it, despite the fact that you can see all these computers around you. No, but what I believe in is doing things which are going to make things better for yourself, especially for me, for tech interests. It's got to have a real purpose. So I'm going to take us outside because I've spent too long in the lab here in the last few weeks, and get some fresh air, show you the garden because it's looking beautiful, and I'll show you this dive tech. Hopefully you know, educate, inform and entertain. That's what I want to do. See you in a minute. Right, scuba fans, so we're outside again. We're in sunny Surbiton and spring is in the air. So let's see what we've got in the garden for starters, because it's really quite pretty. Okay, so here you go. This is our lovely garden this time of year where we get all these bluebells out, and every year they reproduce, it seems. They split and then they get more. So yeah, this is a really lovely time of the year. So I thought, well, why not come out here and show you a little slice of life in Surbiton, the good life. So yeah, there you go. So let's have a look at this tech, and you can basically tell me in the comments what you think. So what have we got? We have your regular 12-litre dive cylinder. You have your regulator, secondary. You have the other secondary, which we call an octopus. Don't know why really, it's just second. We have the all-important gauge. Always have a manual gauge, an analog gauge, as well as your dive computer. It's all about redundancy. Then anyone who's done open water diving knows you've got one like this. This hose goes and fits onto your BCD, and it allows you to put air into your BCD to give you buoyancy. And then one which most people won't have recognised, there's a second one which I like to have blue to make it easily identifiable. Because I do dry suit diving, I need this to put air in my suit. So far, pretty normal. Next, what do we have here? Well, it's got a nice little setup. You've got a nice little cable, a nice little hose, which is on the high pressure connection. And then it's nicely loose on here. It's not loose, but it's on a gimbal type thing. So if it gets knocked, it's just going to turn. It's not going to get damaged. So what is it? Let's have a look. Ooh, my name's rubbed off nearly, but I need to sort that one out. So what's this? A Sunto tank pod. And what this is, this can go to 300 bar. That's pretty good. I've never had 300 bar in my tank, or a tank. Made in Finland, quality technology. Basically, Sunto invented the dive computer, and they're the most popular dive computer manufacturers in the world. So, what does that do? That allows my dive computer to know how much air is left in the cylinder. And then, as all data engineers know, you get one metric, you can extract and derive lots of other things from it. So, your pressure over time gives you your air consumption rate, and basically tells you how long you've got in your dive, but also importantly it tells you if you're over breathing, in other words hyperventilating, or whether you just need to chill down, slow down, and you know, it gives you a bit of feedback. So if you start breathing meditatively, there you go, one take proves it, then you can last longer on your dive and it's more pleasant. So we're going to start off with the basic one. So anyone who starts diving, for me, there's many dive computers you can get. This isn't an advertising channel, but I do love Sunto. It's closest to my heart because this is what I started after I started diving. This was the first computer. Basic, allows you to do nitrox as well as air. It does everything you need. It keeps you safe. and you can get this nice little holder so it goes around your wrist instead of being on your, well, it can go around your arm instead of just being on your wrist like a watch. And you can see more about the Sinto Zoop in my pressure test videos. So that one's the most vanilla. Best thing to do if you want to know more about that is go and have a look on Sinto's website, go and look at the third-party blog reviews, and that'll tell you everything you know or need. The main purpose of a dive computer is to keep you within your dive plan and to keep you safe and tell you what time you've got left at the depth you've got. So for example, if you go to 40 meters right at the beginning of the dive, for me it's going to show me that I've got 4 minutes allowed there before I have to start ascending. And if I don't respect that, if I were to stay 6, 7, 8, 9 minutes, the problem is I get more nitrogen in my blood and I can't go up at the normal rate of 9 meters per minute to the surface. It isn't safe. Most people know it as the bends. We know it more as issues with decompression and sort of nitrogen being in the blood. But basically, you keep to what the dive computer says because you respect the fact that we have to be safe, not only for us, but also for our buddies. So anyway, that's the purpose of the dive computer. So let's have a look at the one which I've had for a couple of years now. And at the moment, Soupy is my backup, and he's also the Intrepid test machine, because as you saw in the pressure test, I used Zoop instead of this one. Now, I've got full sun on this, so let's see whether we can see it or not. I'll go in my shadow. Try and not reflect the sun on the sky. We'll just wait for it to boot. Right, turn the uppy. Okay, so this is a challenge. Right, okay, so what are we looking at here? We've got 0, 0 at the top, it's the depth, nothing at the moment. Down the bottom we've got the green, which is the number of minutes we've dived, and then up to the right we've got a nice display currently showing the time, and then down the bottom we've got our current max depth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to activate the AirPod connection and quickly show you what this dive computer gives you over the Zoop and over the other entry-level dive computers. So what I'm going to do is bring it close to the pod. It's already paired. Now at the moment still it's well, at the moment it's not showing any air stuff, so let's sort that out. I'm just going to, right, gas time, tank bar. So we know that it's not doing anything at the moment because it says tank bar dash dash. If I go and bring this up, if I go and turn the air on the cylinder, so I'm going to put it all the way on, and now I'm going to say something which some people are controversial. In the past, the advice was open it up completely and turn it back a bit of a turn. My advice to you, and I welcome anyone disagreeing because we'll have a nice conversation about it. Do not do that. Put it on the max. Don't give it a yank because that's not kind on the valve. But technology is such, and has been for such a long time, that the best way of using this stuff is just turn your valve on completely. A lot of people, and including instructors who've trained a while ago, still insist on doing that. The problem with that is when someone checks your air, they can move it in both directions, and there's a bit of ambiguity about, oh, is it near to fully on, or is it near to fully off? And there have been dive accidents where there's been uncertainty about that and someone's actually turned it off completely. So let's avoid that completely. We have it open fully. The dive valve tech has got to the point a long time ago where it's not going to damage anything on the valve or on the seals or anything if you've got it fully open. And the other thing is, I've got to say this, but I mean, I respect him a lot. The guy who taught me in one of my advanced courses, we were doing some stuff where you had to go over, you know, it wasn't overhead environment, but it's through a few arches. And he said, oh yeah, have it back, because if it hits the roof, then it's not going to, you know, it's just going to go like this, and it's not going to really yank against it. I'm sorry, man, but I would prefer to take the risk. I don't think there is a risk, but the better thing to do is have it fully open. There's more of a risk of someone unhelpfully coming along, especially sometimes a boat person who's on the boat helping, and coming and messing around with that. It's like, I do not want anyone touching my air, and that should be the same for everybody, unless I say to them, oh, I put it on my back, can you turn my air on please, and then check it with your own hand that it's on. So enough of a lecture. What we're going to do is put that next to there. Right, it's already registered. Cool. So now, 217 bar. So the computer's aware of how much gas I've got in the cylinder. Now this is a backup. Well, it's not backup. This is my primary for finding out how much air I've got. Right, always have a backup. Your backup is your analog gauge. It's tempting for some people to say, well, I don't need that because I've got this. Or maybe you might have two dive computers. Two dive computers is kind of preferable to only one, but I think you should always have a bit of a good old analog technology in there. There's no batteries to worry about, there's no corruption to worry about, it just does its job. It's bulletproof. If you go and smack it against a rock, it's not going to break. So just briefly then, as any engineer will tell you, if I go to the next one, right, so this button, right, gas time, of course it doesn't show at the moment, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to see if I breathe it, it's actually going to let me. Okay, well I haven't done such a thing really in testing it before, but I think probably it has to be activated in water. And you see those two bits, those two sort of buttons there, not buttons, they're studs. Water detection is there. So anyway, it shows you what your gas time is. So in other words, as you're going through your dive, it works out, given your usage rate and how much gas you've got, how much time have you got at the current depth. And that's cool. For me, what's cooler is consumption rate. So consumption rate is measured in litres per minute. So an average would be, say, 15 litres per minute for someone who's just started diving. And of course, the less air you have to consume due to your technique, the longer you can last if you're diving relatively shallow. So obviously your air lasts longer, but the other thing is, like in meditation, if you can breathe, like abdominal breathing and then deep breathing, not holding your breath, then it's more of a chilled out experience. It activates your asympathetic nervous system and it just makes everything more chilled out. So I like the fact that I get told by this computer, you're at 15. That tells me, okay, let's slow down the breathing a little bit, relax, and it'll go down to 14, 13, 12. Then you might have a little incident happen where you're like, I don't know what's going on there, and it'll go up to 15 again. But the point is, I've managed to get mine down to 8 or 9 litres per minute when I'm going around Raisbury at 23 degrees in the water. And quite honestly, I think anyone can do that if they're given the data to give them the feedback about how it's going. I'm not some sort of amazing diver, I just sort of like to have the information to hand. So that's why this computer is so awesome. Other products are on the market, but really, I think Sunto's actually got... There's a organisation in the US called the FCC, which regulates radio transmissions, and Sunto have got their own dedicated permission on a radio band around the 100 kilohertz mark, specifically for these two to communicate with each other. So that's pretty awesome. So it's actually their own frequency, which they're allowed to use. It's not a public frequency. And because it's about 100 kilohertz, it goes through water without a problem. Anyway, there you go. That's the tech dive computer. That's a Sunto Eon. The other one was a Sunto Zoop. Shearwater's another fantastic manufacturer of dive computers. The only reason I didn't get one of those is because I didn't quite have the combination of features I wanted. So finally, this is the super awesome one, which not many people may have heard of. This is a Garmin, and it can be used for other activities rather than just scuba diving. Device does not transmit underwater. What could that mean? That's where Mercator Origins actually beats Garmin, because we do transmit underwater, and I can send a message when I'm underneath the water to the internet, and possibly by satellite if the dive boat is on Wi-Fi. So what is it? What this is an emergency satellite SOS thingy, basically. If I take it out of its case, so that's actually, I can't remember what it's waterproof down to, but it's at least 40 meters, probably more. So I can put that in my pocket, go diving, and then when I'm at the surface, if I've got an emergency, I can set a button, press a button, it'll send a message to one of the satellite constellations, not GPS. I can't remember which one it is. Iridium is one, Starlink's another. It doesn't use Starlink. So what it does is it lets us send an emergency message. Let's just take it out of the box and turn it on. So see how we've got a little string here, so if you take it out of the surface you're not going to lose the case, which would be unfortunate. Right, so where do we turn it on the top? Now you have to have a subscription for this, but you can do it monthly. So I don't have it fully activated unless I'm on holiday, and I have to remember to go and activate this after I've done this video. So we're going to Gozo next week. So what does this do? It solves the problem which a boat driver for your dive boat, if he unfortunately leaves you somewhere and forgets about you, which does happen, you can use this to go and get rescued. So let me just see what's going on, because it is not doing much at the moment. I thought it was going to work because I tried turning it on before. I need to charge it, so I'm just going to give a quick description. Basically, you've got nice rubberized buttons everywhere, so no water's going to get in. You've got a USB under this little flap, which I can't get out because I've cut my nails yesterday. I really needed it. Then you've got an SOS button. Ooh, lift that up. You don't want to press that too readily. So it does that. It does the SOS function, which means basically if you're taken away by a current and you can't see the dive boat, that's your lifeline. Right? This is safety equipment first and foremost. I think it cost me about 400 quid, but it's the last piece of equipment that I bought about a year ago. I'm not someone who buys tech for the sake of it, and I'm not someone who buys you know, just upgrade stuff for the sake of it. But you know, I've heard a lot of news stories where, I don't know, in Egypt or in other countries, not necessarily Egypt, poor divers have been left in the water and sometimes haven't survived. And so this is as important as your regulator. It's a safety critical device, and it's also as important as your regular dive computer. That's a safety critical device as well. So I think at this point it's really important to emphasize that Mercator Origins, my sat-nav, is not a safety critical device. It is, at the end of the day, at the moment, a toy. It doesn't tell you anything about how long you should stay underwater, and that's really important because you must always dive with a dive computer, okay? A proper dive computer by one of the proper dive manufacturers. You need to have something you can rely on to keep you safe and to prevent you from losing your life by, you know, accidentally doing something you shouldn't do under the water, like going too deep or staying too long. So I'm not in the safety critical business. You must have a dive computer, a proper one, with you. That's why I call my Mercator Origins a sat-nav and dive console. It is not a dive computer. A dive computer measures your decompression, or tells you about your decompression limits. It tells you about how long you can stay at the current depth. It is a serious bit of equipment. Mine is a toy. At the moment, it's a toy. So let's not think that anything is a replacement for our proper dive computers. So there you go. Lecture over. Other cool stuff this does. You can't see it, so I don't know why I'm pointing at it. Basically, you can send your location, as Mercator Origins is going to be able to. But it's quite expensive, so maybe Mercator Origins is going to be cheaper than a Garmin. I think that would actually be quite easy given their plans. And if I'm using my super piece of London technology, finance data technology, then there's not going to be much cost associated with it because I'll own it. So yeah, you can actually send your location anytime you want. So you can have a family member or a friend watch you on the map, see where you are. Ooh, hang about, Scuba Hacker. Mercator Origins, doesn't that do the same thing? Yes sir, it does. But it gives it in real time. It doesn't send an SMS message and here I am, and then 10 minutes later, there I was, or here I am now. No. If you've got an internet connection, I'm going to give you a Google map with your real-time location updated every half second. How's that? That sound good? And got to find out how we do it. Not sure how we do it on Google Maps, but you'll have depth. So someone knows how deep you are? There you go. Someone wants to make sure that you're keeping to your dive plan and not deviating and going naughty depths. Someone can keep an eye on you, big brother watching. Or maybe you've just got someone who wants to care about, are you being safe? So it could be someone who's a young person, a teenager, and the parents are divers, or even just, they don't need to be divers, they're on the shore, and they just want to keep an eye on their children and their young people. So, if there's a problem, they can contact the lifeguard or the RNLI, our Royal National Lifeboat Institution, God bless them, in the UK, the charity, and they can raise the alarm. So on that one, I'm currently testing out a software as a service application called Cubretro, which is very difficult to say, and I'm currently getting it so I can send 50 metrics from the console and from the float to basically give us a super detailed log of everything that's going on downstairs down in the water with the diver, but also upstairs at the float. And of course 3 aspects which are going to be there: latitude, longitude, depth, current time, but there'll be other stuff like temperature, pressure, how much are you wobbling about, because we've got gyroscopes built into this stuff as well. I'm really excited about doing that, and I'm thinking I'm not going to change the hardware before I go to Gozo, but I can update the software because I'm going to take my laptop with me, so if I've got any bugs I can sort it out easily. I don't need to take any soldering irons. If I have a wire break, it's tough, I'll just put it on the shelf. I'm not going to take soldering irons to Gozo. So there you go. Mercator Origins is going to be a little bit like the Garmin Mini, what's it called? It's the Garmin InReach Mini 2. Of course, this one is an SOS, only in an emergency, lift the cover type jobby. My one, you know, it's not going to come with any sort of warranty about, well, if you rely on it to save your life, don't, because it's a toy at the end of the day. And we're going to try and put a lot of very serious and cool things in there, but at the end of the day, I can't guarantee that you'll get a satellite connection or a Wi-Fi connection, and I would hate to think that someone would be having problems or health problems as a result of only you know, using this piece of kit. And remember that anyone can build one of these, so that could mean yourself, it could mean a friend, it could mean some other person on the internet who's making them to make some money, which to my mind is great. You know, have a side hustle. But just remember, you've got to have your proper dive computer with you, please. And anyway, let's move on from that. This is just loads of fun. So there you go, you've got 3 things there. You've got Sunto Zoop, basic dive computer. You've got the Sunto Eon, which is an awesome one, which lets you connect to your AirPod, which tells you all about your air consumption, make you a better, more chilled out diver. And then we've got the Garmin InReach Mini 2, which helps you if your boater decides to go home and have his pina colada on the beach before he's picked you up. The sharks aren't going to get you if InReach Mini 2's just sent a message to the lifeboat and Coast Guard people to come pick you up toot sweet. So there you go. That's the tech that Scuba Hacker uses. I suppose Mercator Origins has been inspired by some of this stuff. See you later.